Hey guys, Deanna here, and we are making the Be Creative hoodie today. So this is exciting. I'm making one for my niece because I think she's going to love it, and I love this fabric. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I am making the cowl option, and I am not doing the drawstrings. So if you want any help with drawstrings, go on over and do watch our around the block hoodie sew along, and it shows you how to do the patches and the drawstrings and how to do the grommets and all that stuff like that. So if you need any help with that, you can head on over and watch that video, and it'll be all the help. It will be on there, and it'll be the same steps as this. We'll have the same steps as that on that section. But anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with this one. I am doing the piping, so here is my top, and let me go ahead and get my, should have had this on already, my iron on, ready to seam this one. So here's my piping, and I already cut it all the way. So we're gonna fold it wrong sides together, and what we're gonna do is we're going to baste it onto our top front bodice. Okay, so let's give it a little bit of a steam, even though this fabric is being great at staying together. You know, sometimes they roll and they don't want to stay together. This one's staying together, so that's good. Okay, so now right side up on your bodice, and we're gonna pin this piping all the way across. And then what we're gonna do is we're just going to top stitch, because we don't need bulky seams. And next we're gonna attach the bottom bodice to it, so we don't need to have bulky seams. So let me go ahead and attach this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and with my sewing machine, I'm just gonna do a long straight stitch, and that's how I'm going to attach it. And actually I think I'm gonna go from the back, because I can see I want to be able to see that it is on there. So I'm just gonna do it this way. Just a little bit easier. I'm just doing a long stitch, just basting it on so that it doesn't move when I go to sew it to my bottom bodice. Sorry. I am actually really excited about this one. I think it's going to be super cute. I've seen some of the ones that have been made, and they look just super cute. Alright. I don't know where I put my scissors. Somewhere. Oh, here they are. Yes, so I went ahead and that is basted on. Okay, so now I'm going to put it again right side up. Just make sure, because there's a little pin right here where you got. So yeah, so then when you fold it down after you sew it, you'll have that piping on there. So now I'm grabbing my bottom bodice, and let's make sure I've got the right one. I'm going to measure, look at the angle. See, that angle fits right there. Making sure my two angles are right. I don't want to attach the back to the front. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my piece, and I usually like to find the center. That way I know for sure. So I'm going to find the center, and I usually notch it with a little clip. And I'm going to do the same for my bodice. That way I know where to attach it, so it doesn't give me the wrong side. Anyway, okay, so I'm finding the center, and I am attaching that right over that, both of those right sides on top of the top bodice and that lining. So this is where we're gonna put that lining and the top bodice together. So that's why we just basted it, because we don't want to have two seams, you know, thicker, so the seam is really thick. So we're just gonna go ahead and go all the way down, and we're gonna do the same thing to the other side, go all the way down and pin, and all the way down. So now I'm gonna go ahead and serge that together, and I'm gonna do the same thing to my back bodice. So I'm gonna find the center. Now the back bodice doesn't have piping, so I don't have to worry about the piping. All I'm gonna do is grab the front bodice, the back bodice, back top bodice, and I'm gonna grab the back bottom bodice, and I'm gonna notch it at the top and do right here at the center, and then go down, go out to one side, and then go out to the other side and serge. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, serge it. You can do zigzag stitch, it's up to you, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, so now that I've sewn the bodice together, the top and the bottom, I went ahead and top stitched along the edge of both of them, the back and the front. Now I'm gonna grab the front bodice and put it right side up. Now I already did it to my other side, just for sake of time. So you're just doing exactly the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna do it on this side, I'm gonna show you, and then you do the same on the other side. So my shoulder seams, we're putting them right side together. Okay, like you see right here, I already sewed it together. And I'm going to go ahead and pin and sew, so that shoulder seam is done. Okay, so now after I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and put my sleeve on. So I'm gonna open this up. This is where my shoulder seam is. And I'm gonna open it up, and I'm gonna grab my sleeve, which is already folded at the moment. So I'm gonna mark where the top is, the very tip top. I just do a little notch, just cut a little bit off. And I'm gonna place it right on that top seam. And I'm gonna go down to one side, all the way down to the edge, pinning all the way down, and then I'll go down to the other side, and then I'm gonna go ahead and serge that seam, that side seam. I'm gonna serge those raw edges, that's what I mean to say. Like I said, I already attached my sleeve on the other side, just for sake of time, but I'm gonna, so we can do this one together. Because sometimes you think things are gonna take longer than they truly do. It's super easy. So easy. So easy. So I'm just sewing around that raw edge all the way around the sleeve. You gotta make sure you got both sides of the fabric, and make sure that you're not grabbing anything else under. Because at times, sometimes the fabric tends to try to come in, and that's not good. No bueno. All right. So my sleeve is on, and you need to check and make sure that you didn't leave any open pieces, which I didn't. And now I'm gonna go ahead and fold it, and I'm going to close my side. Now remember, everything I'm doing on this side, you would do on the other side. So you would put in the sleeve on the other side as well. But since I already did, we can move on to this step. Now I'm going to match up where my bodices both match up, my top front and my top back. So I'm gonna match up those two right there first. Make sure that they're nice and at the line, and then I'm gonna go down my sleeve, trying to match up my pattern, and then I'm gonna go down the bodice. once you've matched up the seams at on the sides, you know, those side seams right here where the bodice top and the bottom meet, then it's easy to match up all the other sides. You just want to make sure that those meet right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and serge those sides together, making sure I'm grabbing both fabrics, not just the front or the back, and then I'll have a hole. And I'm going all the way up the side and up the sleeve. Again, I want to make sure by turning it right side out that I did grab both of my fabrics, because every once in a while I won't grab both of my fabrics and I'll have a gap, and we don't want to do that. So my sleeve is on. Look at how cute that's looking. Now we're going to do my cuff, my armband cuff. So here's my cuff. I'm going to fold it right sides together. I'm going to sew it at that raw edge. My foot keeps trying to walk away from me. I don't usually, I'm bad, I don't pin very much. But if I have a fabric that's kind of wobbly or it rolls or whatever, I usually pin it. Now we're going to fold that inside each other to make the cuff. Raw edges touching, wrong sides together. I'm going to go ahead and pin right there where those seams meet. And I like to sometimes quarter my bands as well, just as much as everything else, just because I want to make sure that they're even, especially because I'm using French terry, and sometimes French terry doesn't have the best of stretch, so I want to make sure that they're even and I'm not going to have a bump on one side. So I'm quartering it, which means I fold it in halves, and I find the half, and then from that half front and back I find the corners, the quarters. And I do the same thing to my sleeve, finding those quarters. That way I can match them up to my cuff, and then I can sew them together from there. I worry sometimes when I don't do this that it's gonna be bunchy up in one side and not on the other, and a lot of times it works out just fine, but it's just an extra precaution. Sometimes I feel like I want to take it. So here I am going to find that seam. So I want to put all those seams together, the 3 seams, and then I'm going to find every notch I made for the quarters and meet them up for my sleeve and my cuff. And I'm meeting them up at the raw edge. So I fit that cuff over the sleeve, and right sides together I'm meeting where those raw edges are and where those quarter points are. Okay, there they are. Now I'm going to go ahead and serge all the way around that cuff, making sure I have all 3 of my fabrics right there in place, and that I'm making sure I'm sewing all 3 of my fabrics at the same time, so I don't have a gap on my cuff. Just my fabrics, just my 3 fabrics and nothing else. Sometimes another piece tries to sneak in. Alright, so here's my cuff, all done. And then I'll go ahead and tuck that piece in, but it came out through this side, so I'm just gonna, that's just my tail. So then I would tuck it in. Alright, so we're almost there. Look at this, it's looking cute. Now we're gonna do my waistband. So I have my 2 pieces of waistband. I'm putting right sides together. Here's my one side and here's my other, right sides together. I'm gonna sew along those raw edges, the short raw edges. Now I already sewed this side, so I just gotta sew this one. Now I am going to open it up and fold it wrong sides together, matching those seams at first. And I'm gonna quarter it just like I did my armband. So I'm gonna fold it hot dog style, wrong sides together. Okay. And I'm going to quarter it, which means I already have my 2 halves. So all I need to do is match up those 2 halves right there, those 2 pins, and go out to one side, and that's 1/4, and then out to the other side, and that's my 2nd quarter. Quarter. There we go. Coming along. I'm so excited. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of my hood, of my sweater, because I want to match up the edges. So I'm meeting up those 2 side seams, and I'm going out to the front and the back. So then now you know those 2 side seams you're gonna attach to the sides. So here it is, my band. I'm gonna fit it right over my hood, right sides together. And I am going to put, I said hood, my hoodie. I'm going to put those seams, all those seams together and pin. Then I'm gonna find that front quarter point that I marked and pin it right there to the right side of the hoodie. You know, when I first started sewing, that did not make sense to me. Why don't I attach it to the front side of the hoodie? Yes, because then when we flip it down, it will not show the seam. But if we don't attach it to the right side, if we attach it to the wrong side, then when you flip it down, it will show it. Okay, so now my band is pinned to my sweater bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and serge all those raw edges together, making sure that I'm pulling a little bit. If you need to pull a little bit to tighten a little bit, you might want to go ahead and do that. Make sure that you're serging all 3 raw edges and not just 2, or yeah, one fell down, or like your sleeve is tucked under and now you just cut a piece of your sleeve off with your serger. That's the scary part about sergers. That is real easy. Oh, see, my pin, the reason why I notched my fabric is because my pin flew off, and yet I can still figure out where I'm supposed to be because I had notched it. If I hadn't, I would be lost. So that comes in handy. Anyway, as I was saying, the serger will cut the fabric. So if you do have another piece that kind of gets tucked under, sometimes that can be fatal to your garment. So you got to be very careful, especially when you're using a serger. Don't let that scare you though. Sergers are so convenient. They're really not that hard to use. Okay, so now here's my hoodie put together. My waistband, and I can go ahead and steam that, and if you want to go ahead and give it a top stitch, you can. I might go ahead and top stitch it afterwards. Looking so cute. Alright, now I'm moving on to my so cute. I'm moving on to my cowl. I'm making the cowl, like I said. I'm not making the hood. But if you want to go ahead and do the grommets, this is where you would go ahead and place your pattern piece on top of your cowl and mark where the grommets are supposed to go. So you can put your patch, you would sew the patch on, then you would put your grommet on, and then you would move on to the next step. So I'm skipping that step. If you need directions with that step, like I said, you can head on over to our sewing tutorials for the around the block hoodie, and they will have them on there. Okay. So now my cowl. I have my outer and my liner, and I'm putting those liners together. 2 liners together and the 2 outers together the same way. Now I already sewed this one together. Since it's the same color for me, it doesn't really matter, but you have to make sure if you have a different color for your liner and a different color for your outer, that you keep them together, okay? So here is, I'm gonna go ahead and sew this edge, that straight edge together. And like I said, you're sewing the liner to the liner, the outer to the outer, okay? To make one long piece. Okay, then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this other piece I already sewed. Let's call this the liner. And I'm going to place it right on top, right sides together. Right on top, right sides together. And I am going to sew these together with my serger. I'm going to sew the top, the part that goes up. So I'm going to meet this raw edge right here. That's so you gotta make sure, and I'm gonna go all the way down to the side. After I do that, after I sew the edges together, the raw edges, I'm gonna turn it around, flip it over, steam it, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch. Just cause, I don't know. It's funny, I didn't have a cover stitch, and I thought, oh, I don't need to top stitch anything. I barely top stitch anything, and I said, you know what, it doesn't look bad. It looks good. And then now that I have a cover stitch, I top stitch everything. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And hemming is so easy. It used to be like pulling teeth. Okay, I'm going all the way around. But now it is super easy. We are almost done. Okay, so like I said, now you're going to turn this right side out. And you can go ahead and steam it and top stitch it. So I'm going to go ahead and steam it and top stitch it, and then we'll move on to actually attaching it. Alright guys, so it's sewn together and it's top stitched. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to grab my hoodie, and you need to figure out, according to your size, it's how much you're going to overlap the hood. This is a size 8, so I'm going to overlap it 8 inches, but all the, I think sizes 8 through 14 overlaps 8 inches, but all the different sizes have different overlap measurements. So we need to look that up before you overlap the hood. We're going to match up, I'm going to match up the sleeves, the shoulder seams, and I'm going to go up to the front so I can find exactly where that front is, so I know where I'm going to overlap. And I'm going to find the back, so I know exactly where I'm going to overlap. I'm going to find a ruler. Thought I had one right here, but I have one right over here. But that one only goes up to 5, so I'll take this. Yeah, I'll take this one. This is good. Okay, and then here's my cowl. Here's my back. I'm going to go ahead and meet the back. And I want my cover stitch part to be the bottom, so I'm going to face it this way, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense? The cowl, you want the part that you don't want to see the cover stitch to be up. So I'm going to go ahead and it's right side. So right side to the right side. Right sides together. That's what it is. Because you're doing the same thing to the hood. Right sides together. So I'm pinning that back. And now I'm going to come all the way around the front. Okay. Since I'm going to overlap for 8 inches, I'm going to go over 4 inches from the starting point, from the middle point, all the way to right here. So that's where my one piece is going to go, and I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to 4 inches And I'm gonna pin my other side, come around, and pin it. Now, if you have grommets, you need to make sure that you're pinning right at the right spot, because you want the lower one to be, the lower grommet to be on the front, and the back grommet, the higher grommet, to be on the top. So you want to put the lower grommet on first and then the top grommet, okay? Because if you do it the other way, then one side will hide the other and it won't work, okay? So now I'm going to go around and make sure I pin all my fabrics together. Because right here I pinned this other side, but I hadn't pinned my back, so I just kind of moved it, but I still have right here where my mark is, where my overlap is supposed to be, right here. So now they're pinned together. When you're gonna sew this, is gonna be a little bit difficult because you're gonna have to sew all the pieces together. That's 5 layers of fabric that you're gonna sew together. So you need to make sure that you do it slowly and carefully so that you're sewing them all up. And the best way to do that is just making sure that it's all pinned correctly. And if you need to pin like a whole lot, go ahead and put as many pins as you want, you feel like you need. Going all the way around, pinning this up. Okay, so it's pinned all the way around. I'm going to pin one more time right here because this is falling down. Okay, so now my cowl is attached. Do you see that? And I'm going to measure. If you want to go ahead and measure, make sure that your overlap is 8 inches. That's 5 and 3. That's 8 inches. If you do 4 to one side, 4 to the other side, that will be an 8-inch overlap. And I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to go ahead and search all the way around, making sure, like I said, all the fabrics are cut. Now, the back is not too bad because you only have 3, but on the front you have 5, so you have to be very careful that you catch them all, and that you don't catch the actual other parts of the hoodie. So I do it slowly and carefully. Okay, here I am coming to my front. So I want to make sure that back one is high up. And I want to make sure I remove that pin. And here we go. Slowly but surely. You'd rather take your time and do it slowly and nicely than go back and say, I wish I had. Okay, I'm coming over to my other edge. I'm almost there. And now I'm going all the way around the back. Now we cross our fingers and hope for the best. And it's done. Look at that. It did it. How cute is that? With the little cowl. Now, if you want to, I did it on mine because I wanted it to be floppy when it lays down. I wanted it to lay down like this when she puts it on. But if you want to, you can put in between the 2 layers, the outer and the inner, you can put a piece of knit interfacing, and it will stiffen the color so it can stand up more if that's what you would like. If you want the look of it standing up, more like a cover cowl, you can do that. You can put that knit interfacing and that will stand it up more. But I wanted it to be a floppy. She lives in Florida. It doesn't get super cold, so I didn't want her to have this all the way up. I wanted it to be down. Even though knit interfacing, it's not going to keep it, you know, but still. All right, well, look at this. How cute is that? I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you had just as much fun as I did. Comment below if you have any questions. I'll take a picture so you can see the finished product. Let me know if you have any questions. Like, comment, share. And if you haven't, subscribe to our channel so you can see all the other sew-alongs that we're doing. And once you do your hoodie, I want you to be, once you're super creative and do your creative hoodie, I want you to, if you please post it on our Facebook page or on our Instagram. We'd love to see it. We all love to see what everybody makes. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye.